r/Askreddit. What's the most ultimate petty revenge you've seen or been a part of? I used to deliver pizza for Domino's. It was my last shift and there was this house that was always rude, never tipped, etc. I got to their house and they gave me a check for 1 cent less than what the total was. I said, I am going to need the extra penny. They grumbled off and took their time hoping I would give up, but I just sat there holding the pizza. They finally came back all pissed off and gave me the penny. Note that they had no intention of tipping. They gave me the penny and I chucked it out into the street and left. They saw me do it. It was satisfying. There was this kid, about 15, who cut in line in front of me at the supermarket. When he wasn't watching, I broke his chocolate bar while still inside the wrapper. Later I saw him cycling by, opening his bar, and half of it fell out. He got pissy and I chuckled. I once had a colleague I hated. He was very condescending and really arrogant. So I put an extra Bluetooth receiver in his computer for a computer mouse and kept the mouse in my drawer. I would just open my drawer and it would mess his shit right up. Kept it going for like 2 months. He was about to murder the world when I thought I better stop. When me and my ex-fiancée were having a bunch of arguments after we broke up, I got tired of her constantly texting me about nonsense, so I called insert phone carrier to have them cut off service to her phone that I paid for in the middle of an argument. You young guns here might not believe it, but back in the early 90s, supermarket cashiers had to type every price in by hand. I was at a Vons in San Diego, walking toward the only open check stand with a single bottle of soda in my hand. Suddenly this hoity-toity lady with a cart stacked to the top flew out of one of the aisles like a freight train and cut me off. I am in a hurry, she said, then looked away like she was annoyed that I'd been born. I looked at the cashier. He rolled his eyes and got to work. 5 minutes later she's walking out the door and it's my turn. "You're good," says the cashier. I put "your soda" on her tag. Damn, that felt good. My roommate and her so loved doing elaborate jigsaw puzzles. After I found out she canceled our lease, leaving me 1 week to find a new place to live, I threw away one piece of 2 different puzzles they were working on. Before you ask, she was able to do this because I was 17, and not able to legally sign a lease. My wife is very picky about the mugs she has for different hot drinks: tall mugs for coffee, wide mugs for tea, dainty cups for fruit teas. When she's being irritating and asks for a cuppa, she gets very plain, boring builder's mugs, and I delight at the mild irritation it brings. I had a guy in school who would always skip class and then ask for my notes. We had a group project worth almost 40% of our grade and he did 0 work, and the prof told me tough luck. Instead of just saying no the next time he asked for notes, I took the low road and began giving him edited versions. I would leave items out of lists, incorrectly define things, or just straight up write stuff that makes no sense. An example of the crap I would put in: to calculate return on investment, subtract your yearly earnings from your current bank balance, then multiply by Escher's factorial, 4.22. If he had even once bothered to crack the text he would have figured it out, but that apparently would have been too much effort for him. He retook that class. Speeding up a co-worker's double-click speed and watch him squirm when his normal double-clicking speed isn't working. Listing a PlayStation 4 as brand new on multiple second-hand goods websites, for $50. I used my old landlord's phone number as the contact number, 'cause fuck that guy. He had to change numbers. Someone in my office would always crush lunches with his gigantic-ass lunchbox. Either he ate bricks or lead, I don't know, but I always came to the office fridge and found that my lunch was in pieces. So, after 3 bouts of this, and numerous notes from myself and other colleagues, I carefully removed his lunchbox, emptied the contents, a gigantic sandwich, a Twinkie, chips, some vegetable pieces, and a few other bits, and ran over them with my car. I carefully packed it back in, and put it back. He kept his lunch in a cooler by his cube from then on. Kid stole my water bottle. I opened it up and left it inside his backpack. We had a guy in our office take a crap in the bathroom every day after lunch and it would stink up the whole office. The manager asked everyone who needed to vacate their bowels to please use the lobby bathroom since our office was small and we only had the one bathroom. He didn't listen. Fortunately, he was like clockwork, so 5 minutes before he went in I took all the toilet paper. That's right. I forced the man to live with a dirty ass. My boyfriend's uncle and 7-year-old cousin live upstairs from us. His cousin has a tendency to be a little brat. I was holding her Yorkie when she came over and yanked her from my arms. No more than 20 minutes later I went out and bought some dog treats. Every day when I come home I give the dog a treat. Now the dog waits by our door instead of hers. Back when I was studying engineering, it occurred to me to try and find an app on my iPhone for those Panasonic projectors in lecture rooms. So I get the app and it just let me connect to the one in the class without a password or anything. I have a friend who is one of those perpetual pranksters. You can't leave your PC or bag or food/drink unattended when he's around. So I beam a picture of him onto the projector, so the lecturer is just talking away and this goofy picture of my mate is on the screen. Lecturer doesn't realize yet. People in the lecture start waking up and giggling a bit. Now I use the pen function and draw a penis on the picture too. Mate was red in the face and trying to hide. Lecturer finally noticed and says, "Michael, why is there a picture of you on the screen?" Finally, for a fleeting moment I actually wrecked that fucker. Posted this previously. My ex cheated with a married man. He now lives with her. He is a POS, but anyway, I still have login for her DVR. I logged in, erased all her shows, then recorded only the show cheaters. Petty, but it makes me laugh. When I was a kid I had a bedwetting problem. I am not ashamed of this now, as thousands of other kids have had the same problems. At the time, however, this was humiliating. My younger brother started telling other kids around school how extensive the issue was. I was mortified. Even after our mother told him to knock it off, he continued. So I decided to level the playing field. The whole hand in cup of warm water deal didn't work. I stood over him as he slept one night and pissed on him. The next morning, my mom was horrified and wound up taking a call from my grandmother. "I don't know what to do, now both of them are pissing the bed," she explained, clearly frustrated. After a few more times of framing my brother as a bedwetter, he completely stopped using my embarrassing problem as entertainment. In college, early 1990s, I lived with several guys in a suite. One liked to call me Chunky A. Yes, I was chubby, I still am, but I have lost a lot of weight and I am continue to lose more. I asked him politely but firmly to not call me that. He laughed and did it more. I proceeded to call up every infomercial I saw on TV to send him baldness cures. He was losing his hair. Tourist information from places like Iowa and Nebraska had information sent to him about adult bedwetting, etc. He accused me of it, and I told him, why would I do such a thing to him? I kept it up for 2 years while he lived in the dorms. His junior year, he moved out to an off-campus place. I found out where he lived and I waited a couple of months and started it all over again. Yeah, I bombarded him with junk mail. A guy at work pissed me off. I placed this Craigslist ad with his phone number. 2 free goats. Hablas español. He spent the rest of the day getting calls every 15 minutes or so. Back in college, I was sitting in the library trying to work on an assignment. All was quiet for a while until this one obnoxious guy came in and sat at a table near me and proceeded to pull out his phone and have the loudest, most obnoxious conversation with one of his friends. Lots of, "Bro, seriously bro. Yada yada." I was about to pack up my things and find somewhere else to work when the conversation turned to Netflix. The guy told his friend he should just use his account, and proceeded to loudly state his email address and password for all to hear. This was too good of an opportunity for me to pass up, so I promptly logged in and navigated to the LGBT section and started adding the gayest movies I could find to the top of the queue. I like to think that both guys ended up thinking the other one added the movies to the queue but were too shocked to ever say anything to each other. When I was about 13, I was snooping around my older brother's room and found a stack of $20 bills stashed away. He was saving up from his high school job to buy a car. Hundreds of dollars. To 13-year-old me it was a fortune, and I figured he wouldn't notice if I stole just 120, still a lot of money to me. So I did. For years I would remember it every once in a while and feel guilty. The worst part was, when I took the 20, he was also a teenage kid and probably knew exactly how much money was there. He probably knew I took one but let me get away with it because he figured I needed it. That made me feel much worse. 15 years later, I'm hanging around with him on the holidays. I see that he left his wallet on the counter, and he's upstairs. I sneak into his wallet, see there's a few 20s, and I slide an extra one in there. Got him. My missus leaves tea bags in the sink. So I put them in her wallet. A girl on my softball team bullied me and spread rumors about me to the team and coaches. We were competing for the same position. She was in my geometry class and tried to buddy up to me because I was good at geometry, and she wasn't. So for a while I let her copy my homework, then one day I gave her all the wrong answers and turned in the right answers for myself. My neighbor's dog shits in our yard all of the time. It wouldn't be a big deal, except he never cleans up after her. I finally had enough, so I decided to go with a classic. I put a flaming bag of his dog's shit on his porch, rang the bell, and hid in the bushes. When he answered the door, I finally got my revenge by having an affair with his wife for the last 3.5 years. My sister said some pretty mean things to me in front of my friends when I was younger. So I put a slice of bologna in her Walkman CD player. I got the idea from Corey in the show That's So Raven. I still periodically look up my ex's post history and downvote all of his recent comments. My wife used to keep these little Godiva chocolates that she likes in her desk at work, but started noticing some of them missing and figured it must be someone from the overnight cleaning staff taking them. Fed up with losing her not inexpensive treats, she decided to get revenge on the choco thief in question by replacing the good chocolate with little squares of chocolate laxatives that look just like real candies. The next morning she saw several of the laxatives gone, and then from that day forward, she was never missing another one of her good chocolates ever again. When I was in 7th grade, the startup my dad was a part of was failing miserably in no small part due to a crazy CEO. While at his house, my dad observed the CEO's toddler daughter picking up a piece of dog shit and licking it. He picked her up and told her to give her dad a kiss. Okay, this one is pretty gross. But growing up in a house of only girls, personal space does not exist. We used to bathe in front of each other, and even use the bathroom in front of each other. There are no boundaries. My younger sister was notorious for shaving in the tub and not rinsing it out when she was done. Pubes everywhere. One day she was taking a bath and I asked her to rinse when she was done, because I planned on taking a bath afterwards. She told me to fuck off. So I reached in my pants, snipped off a chunk of pubes, tossed them in the tub with her, and walked out. A woman I work with literally stole this great story that I tell about me being in the same hospital at the same time that my niece was born. She tells it as it was her husband and she was in the hospital giving birth. She's a known one-upper, everything you do she did it better, faster, it was worse for her etc., so it didn't surprise me when a co-worker told me she regularly tells clients that story. So now, every single day as I get in I pour a tiny bit of my water bottle out on her desk, chair, or on the carpet somewhere in her office. In my mind mold is slowly growing in her office, her skirt gets wet when she sits down or any fresh documents she sits on her desk get sat right in the small puddle of water. A horrible former co-worker always claimed she worked way more hours than she actually did, and when she was at work she just browsed Facebook all day. The doctor/owner was very hands-off and just let her do whatever she wanted, despite me going to him with proof, so I decided to take revenge. She was not computer savvy at all, so I removed Internet Explorer from her desktop and installed an identical icon that, when clicked, would instantly restart the computer. It was so satisfying when she would forget and click it, losing anything that she was working on. She would always grumble and complain about the virus on her computer. I started a new job about 3 weeks later, and when I left it was still giving her problems. In grade school, I kept a bag of chips in the same pocket every day of my backpack. This kid I knew would punch that pocket any chance he could for 5 days in a row. One day I replaced the chips with a bag of sewing pins. He never did it again. Sweet, sweet justice. I had a rival in high school because we got almost the same marks in everything, so I would sabotage him in harmless ways whenever I could. My most frequent one was to empty out the contents of his pencil case, then turn the pencil case inside out, before refilling the pencil case with its contents, and carefully zipping it closed with the pull tab on the inside. He still doesn't know it was me doing it, because it would happen while he was in the bathroom and not at his desk. Being the youngest brother, I would only get hand-me-downs. My older brother rubbed it in my face that he got a brand new pair of PF Flyers after Sandlot came out. Every day, I would stuff the toe of the shoes with tissue paper, adding a little more each day till he thought he outgrew them. Got slightly worn, PF Flyers, after about a month. Put up a Craigslist ad for a guy I couldn't stand. Free refrigerator. Runs great. Call between midnight and 4 am. When I was a kid, my younger brother and I would go for extra Mandarin lessons after school. Then we'd take the bus back. He would never press the bell for the bus to stop because he knew I'd start to freak out and press the bell rather than miss the stop. So, one day when he was sitting on the bus but in front of me, I made sure to get off the stop before ours. I laughed my ass off when I saw the bus miss not just our stop but disappear into the distance. Was it petty? Yes, it was. But I was about 12.